This world groans in the summer. Extreme weather events like hurricanes, droughts, heat waves will become more frequent and more severe, affecting agriculture, water resources, and human health. Countries around the world are once again being forced to endure record heat waves caused by severe summer heat waves. What is certain is that global warmings could worsen weather conditions and cause irreversible effect not possible to return in a previous condition, including food insecurity, agricultural preventing disruptions, water shortages, and human health risk.
Definitely nope, a nope, nope, a nope. Probably never, ever, 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 ever gonna happen. Oh no.
Governments in the Middle East, Europe, and Americas are forced to issue health warnings to people and advise them to stay indoors and to stay hydrated. Scientists are warning that the Earth may have already crossed a critical threshold in climate change, including reports of record high sea temperatures. They say that this will push the world into uncharted territories, never before it's completely new, and will have serious consequences for marine life and global weather patterns over the next decade. While these impacts suggest a grim future, extremely bad warnings, it is worth nothing that effort to mitigate these harmful climate changes and adapt to its effects will help reduce these risks. As the air seems to simmer, shine with heat, the generators that keep the fans running so every street are rattlings and shaken violently and making noises. The heat is destroying life, and the power outage are exacerbating the misery. But even worse, this is why protesters are taking to the streets in search of a better service, even at the risk of taking life, ammunition, assault from the weapons, bullets, bombs from the undisciplined and security forces. The heat is putting a strain on a power grid that is already on the edge borders of collapse. Those who can afford it use exorbitantly, much too much prices private generators to turn on the fuel lights and run the fans. Those who cannot afford it are sweltering in the heat and exhausted in the dark. Severe recent studies, including the report from the WMO, World Meteorological Organization, warn that there is a 66% chance that global average temperature increase from pre-industrial levels will exceed 1.5 degrees Celsius threshold between 2023 and 2027. Even though these countries have historically been strongly associated with hydrocarbon production, convergent efforts towards renewable energy sources indicated a growing awareness of the need to address the climate change. Entire ecosystems are facing major disruptions with the potential for loss, collapse of biodiversity. In addition, the risk of irreversible tipping points, such as the melting of major glaciers and the release of large amounts of greenhouse gases from permafrost frozen could increase. The impact will be enormous, with far-reaching and serious consequences for both human society and the natural world. Nevertheless, the scale of the challenges is enormous, and the success of these efforts will depend on a variety of factors including technological advances, economic considerations, and political will. The market shift in global weather patterns, especially during the summer months, once again shows that the world is far off its goal of achieving a 45% reduction in greenhouse gases emissions by 2030 and net zero by 2050 are required. What will happen to countries with already hot climates? And what will happen to the world if the 1.5 degrees Celsius threshold breakthrough is not temporary? More and more countries, regions, cities, and companies are setting carbon neutral goals, and zero carbon solutions are becoming competitive across the economic sectors that account for 25% of emissions. Luck is not just hot, it's hot to the point of being extreme, record-breaking heat. When the office door opens and the outside door air comes in, it feels like the inside of an oven. The temperature keeps most people indoors. Those on the streets were trying to sell cold drinks and fruit to make a living, but fruit goes bad quickly in this heat. They crouch, bend knee, and shade to avoid the blazing hot, powerful sun. Their hands and faces shoved into ice boxes with the ice inside long since melted. The world is now in the process of making dramatic change in climate change. If the world acts to dramatically control climate change, the 50-degree plus heat will be limited to parts of the Middle East, North America, and India. I unzip my suitcases and it makes a crunching sound crash. The synthetic fibers of my headscarf had melted and crumbled, sticking to the top of the suitcases. The cold water in the bottle was already lukewarm when I brought it to my mouth. Dubai reached 40 degrees Celsius. Baghdad is the previous record of 51 degrees Celsius set 5 years ago. Located in one of the fastest rising temperature regions on the planet, the city offers a glimpse into the disturbing future that climate changes may one day bring to other parts of the world. As part of its Vision 2030, Saudi Arabia has a Saudi Green Initiative, which aims to reduce carbon emission by 278 million tons per year by 2030, reaching 50% clean energy generation by 2030, and plant 10 billion trees, with the Middle East-wide 40 billion trees as one of its goals. The pandemic accord can bring together all our experiences, all our challenges, and all our solutions. investment in research and development of new vaccines, global conflations, public awareness, and education will all contribute to stopping the next pandemic. While individuals cannot control every aspect of their health, they can take basic steps to maximize their personal health. These include regular exercise, maintaining a healthy weight, refraining from smoking, and other bad habits that makes one more susceptible to disease. One of the lessons around from the pandemic was the people with the worst conditions have worst outcomes and poor health. The messages repeated year after year is that human lives with many viruses and bacteria and are vulnerable to epidemics. Be sure, health experts were not announcing the emergence of the new ominous, suggesting unpleasant disease. However, they have expressed their concern about the possibility of another pandemic in the future. It could be even more lethal, that dangerous than COVID-19, and that the world remains unprepared to deal with it. The UAE has done better than many other countries in preparing for the COVID-19 pandemic. However, there are still steps to be taken to prepare for the possibility of disease X and other epidemics, and as the COVID-19 pandemic progresses, technology will play a greater role in the daily life and in the healthcare system. The goal is to strengthen the national, regional, and global capacities and resilience to prepare for future pandemics. Public health and defense experts are concerned that the next pandemic could cause even more damage than COVID-19, preparing for whatever biology brings, whether it is from nature, engineering, and laboratory accidents. Countries are required to be prepared. WHO first introduced the term Disease X in 2017. It will be the term used to discuss priority diseases alongside Crimea-Congo hemorrhagic fever, Ebola, Lassa fever, Zika fever, Zika virus infections, and COVID-19. The first, disease X. These viruses were identified as international priorities, emphasizing the need for countries to intensify its research and development on their symptoms, spread, treatment, and immunizations. While people may not be protected against the next disease X, governments and stakeholders can take advantage of the potential of mRNA vaccine technology to accelerate the development of new vaccines if necessary.